Right now, the eyes watching this video are the product of an evolutionary process that spans approximately 300,000 years. But what if I told you that this process is no longer progressing through natural means, that the reins have been ripped from nature's hands? Humanity has managed to access its own source code, that is, the operating system of life. We no longer leave evolution to chance or natural selection. We are hacking it like a computer software. Today, we will decode the genetic truths hidden in the darkest corners of laboratories, the secret projects billionaires are conducting in pursuit of immortality, and why the human 2.0 version has long been among us. By the time this video ends, you will understand that your body is merely a starting phase, and that the reflection you see in the mirror is one of the last natural humans in history. If you are ready, we are embarking on a journey towards the most dangerous and exciting secret of our species, our own genes. The Global Thought presents Biological Hacking, the greatest genetic secret in human history. Section 1. CRISPR-Cas9, the cut and paste age of life. It all began in 2012 in a microscopic world with the discovery of a simple defense mechanism that bacteria use against viruses, CRISPR-Cas9. This technology is the Microsoft Word of genetics. You can select and cut the gene you want, like a text document, and paste in a completely different trait. Changes that nature used to make through trial and error over thousands or even millions of years can now be accomplished during a laboratory technician's coffee break. This is not just about curing diseases, it is the power to establish a biological dictatorship. Remember the case of Lulu and Nana, born in China in 2018. These babies were not just designed to be resistant to the HIV virus, they were the first artificial dams that altered the course of humanity's river. Because an individual that has undergone genetic intervention will pass these hacked codes onto their children, who will then pass them on to their own children. So when we play with a single cell in a laboratory today, we are intervening in the gene pool of humanity 1,000 years from now. This means bypassing the thousands of years of evolution's filter. So, are we mentally prepared for this pace? Section 2. The immortality industry. The end of death? There is a shocking claim in the scientific community that has moved beyond being marginal. Aging is not an inevitable end, but a treatable disease. If aging is a disease, then like any disease, it must have a cure, a vaccine, or a patch. The most powerful figures in Silicon Valley view death as a software bug. Their focus is on the protective caps at the ends of our DNA strands, telomeres. These caps, which we can think of like the plastic tips on shoelaces, shorten a little more with each cell division. When the telomere runs out, the cell dies, the organ fails, and we die. However, it is possible to reverse this process through biological hacking. Next-generation drugs called senolytics target the zombie cells in the body, cells that have aged but continue to spew toxins into the environment without dying. Imagine for a moment, you are 100 years old, but your cells are renewing at the same rate as those of a 25-year-old. This is not just a dream. Life extensions of up to 30% have already been achieved in laboratory mice. If this technology is fully applied to humans, we could be the first generation to live for 150-200 years. However, this raises a terrifying question. Death is the fundamental boundary that gives meaning to life and makes us human. Would a life without boundaries have any meaning? Or will eternal life simply bring endless boredom? Section 3. Cybernetic evolution. The dance of flesh and metal. Biological hacking is not limited to genes. We are merging machines directly with our nervous system. Elon Musk's Neuralink project was not just designed to help paralyzed individuals walk. The main aim is to create a bandwidth between artificial intelligence and the human brain. Currently, you must read, listen, and memorize to learn something. But imagine downloading a foreign language in seconds with a chip implanted in your brain, a mind directly connected to all the information of the internet. This is the deification of Homo sapiens. However, every connection point is also a cybersecurity vulnerability. If your brain is connected to the internet, can a hacker infiltrate your memories? Can they erase your thoughts? Worse still, can they inject a foreign idea into your mind as if it were your own? At this point where our biological selves are digitized, where does the concept of self end and where does software begin? Section 4. Military genetics. The dawn of DARPA and super soldiers. DARPA, one of the world's most secretive and powerful research institutions, has been running projects for decades under the banner of warrior performance enhancement that aim to transform an ordinary human into a war machine. However, what we are talking about here is not just a better rifle or more robust armor. It is about directly updating the biological hardware of soldiers, that is, their genetic software. DARPA's Persistence in Combat program aims to enable a soldier to self-treat when injured. Imagine, a bullet enters the body, but genetically modified cells reduce the clotting time to mere seconds, and tissue repair begins within minutes. They are also working on that biological necessity known as sleep. We know that some species of birds can put half of their brain to sleep while continuing to fly with the other half. Scientists are pursuing the creation of soldiers who can fight for 48 hours without a decline in cognitive performance by integrating this genetic trait into the human brain. But what about pain? Pain is the body's alarm system. However, for a warrior, pain is an obstacle. Imagine an army with nociceptors, pain receptors, temporarily silenced through genetic interventions. These soldiers could continue to fire without feeling pain, even if their legs were blown off. But at this point, how far are we from humanity? Can we still call a being that does not feel pain, does not sleep, and does not fear human? Or is it now just an organic weapon? Chapter 5: Hacking the Ecosystem. Writing: Mother Nature's Software. Biological hacking attacks have transformed into a formatting operation aimed not only at our own species, but at the entire planet. We are no longer living organisms within nature. We are admins rewriting nature's operating system. Giant companies like Colossal Biosciences are pushing DNA engineering to its limits to bring back prehistoric giants. The most dangerous technology here is the gene drive. Normally, a gene has a 50% chance of being passed on to offspring. However, with a gene drive, you can increase that chance to 100%. What does this mean? If you alter a mosquito's genetics to make it sterile and release it into the wild, you could wipe out the entire mosquito population on Earth within a few generations. Malaria, dengue fever, and the Zika virus could vanish in an instant. It sounds like a miracle, doesn't it? However, the ecosystem is like a domino board. When you wipe out a species, you also endanger the birds that feed on it, the other predators that feed on those birds, and the plants that are pollinated by those mosquitoes. When we reintroduce mammoths, which went extinct thousands of years ago, to the Siberian tundra, how will the existing vegetation and microbial life there respond? The phrase "playing God" has never been more real. Hacking nature could cause an irreversible system crash, and we do not have a restore point to fix that error. The Section 6: Biohackers, the genetic revolution in the garage and anarchy. Perhaps the most shocking truth of this documentary is this: this power is no longer solely in the hands of governments or institutions like NASA. Today, biohacking has become a subculture, an underground movement. In garages, basements, and secret laboratories around the world, independent researchers, who are not bound by any ethical committee, are using their bodies as test beds. Consider names like Gabriel Lacina, who injected a substance called chlorin E6 into his eyeball to gain the ability to see in the dark and can identify people 50 meters away in pitch blackness. Or Josiah Zayner, who injects a DNA serum into his own arm during live broadcasts to silence the myostatin gene that limits muscle growth. These individuals argue that biology has been democratized. According to them, genetic information should be accessible to everyone, like open source software on the internet. However, this uncontrolled freedom brings with it a tremendous risk. What happens if a biohacker creates an antibiotic-resistant super virus in their kitchen and accidentally or deliberately leaks it into the sewer? In a world where genetic libraries are leaking onto the internet, accessing the recipes for deadly pathogens could become child's play. We are entering a period of biological anarchy, and in this world, police or armies cannot protect you from a genetic attack. Could a young person playing with the codes of life in their room be the one writing the end of human history? Chapter 7: Conclusion: The Dawn of Homo Deus. To summarize, we are likely the last natural representatives of the Homo sapiens species. The coming century will hand over our place to the disease-free, much smarter, perhaps biologically limitless Homo Deus, or God-Man. However, the time has come to ask the most important question. In the pursuit of perfection, will we lose those tremendous flaws that make us human, our fragility, our art, and our soul? Will a laboratory-made paradise actually be the hell of the human spirit? We have taken the reins of evolution, but we still do not know where to ride the horse. Look in the mirror. That reflection you see may be the last pure human before the greatest transformation in history. Life is no longer a matter of fate, but a matter of design. The choice is yours. Will you be the designer or the designed? Presented by The Global Thought. Thank you for watching. You can subscribe to my channel to not miss more interesting videos. Goodbye.